Commander Do-hyun Park stood at the window of the International Space Station, his dark eyes fixed on the endless sea of stars. The blue marble of Earth hung below, peaceful and unaware of what was coming. His tablet beeped again, another alert from the deep space sensors. More ships were entering the solar system. "Commander, you need to see this," called Dr. Jae-hyun Park, his daughter. She worked at her computer station, her fingers moving quickly across the holographic keyboard. The screen in front of her showed waves of red dots approaching Earth's orbit. Do-hyun walked over to her station. At 55, his steps were still steady in the zero gravity. 25 years in space had taught him how to move efficiently. How many this time? 50 more ships, father. The Vulcans say they're cargo vessels. But Jae-hyun's voice trailed off as she pulled up another screen. This one showed energy readings that didn't match what the aliens had told them. 6 months ago, the Vulcans had arrived in Earth's orbit. They came in sleek, silver ships that looked like giant arrows. They said they were peaceful. They offered to help Earth advance its technology. All they wanted in return was to mine some unused resources from the outer planets. Many world leaders thought it was a good deal. After all, the Vulcans seemed friendly. They shared some of their basic technology, better solar panels, more efficient engines, and even some of their simpler weapons. They said it was a sign of trust. But Jae-hyun had never trusted them. As head of Earth's quantum computing division, she understood technology better than most. The simple weapons the Vulcans gave them were far too interesting. They worked in ways that matched her own research too well to be a coincidence. "Look at this, father," Jae-hyun said, pointing to a new set of readings. "Their ships are carrying energy signatures that match weapon systems. Big ones, much bigger than what they showed us." Do-hyun leaned closer to the screen. After years of working together on the space station, he had learned to trust his daughter's instincts. "Have you told Colonel Lee yet?" "I sent her the data an hour ago. She's calling an emergency meeting of the Defense Council." Jae-hyun pulled her long black hair back into a tight bun, something she always did when she was worried. But that's not the worst part. She opened another file on her screen. This one showed lines of alien code she had decoded. "I've been scanning their communications. They think they're encrypted, but," she allowed herself a small smile, "they don't know how far our quantum computing has come. I can read about 30% of their messages now." Do-hyun's eyes widened as he read the translated text. The Vulcans weren't allies at all. They were hunters, and Earth was their prey. They had done this before, given friendly technology to other civilizations, waited until they depended on it, then attacked. Their ships didn't just carry weapons. They carried tools to strip entire planets of resources. "How long?" Do-hyun asked, his voice low and steady despite the fear growing in his chest. "Based on their communications pattern, maybe 3 months before they stop pretending." Jae-hyun pulled up more data. "They're positioning their ships carefully. See these patterns? They're creating a net around Earth. Once it's complete, they think we won't be able to escape." Do-hyun straightened up, his military training taking over. "We need to warn." A loud alarm cut him off. Red lights flashed across the station. "Incoming ship," the computer announced. "Vulcan diplomatic vessel requesting immediate docking." Father and daughter shared a look. They couldn't let the Vulcans know they had discovered their plan. "Not yet. Dr. Hae-jun Kim is waiting for this data in the Seoul laboratory," Jae-hyun said quickly, sending files through their secure quantum network. "He's already working on understanding their weapons. He thinks," she lowered her voice even though they were alone in the control room, "he thinks we can make them better." Do-hyun nodded. "Keep working. I'll meet the diplomats." He started toward the docking bay, then paused. "Jae-hyun." "Yes, father." "Delete these readings from the main system. Keep them only on your quantum encrypted drives." He managed a small smile. "Let them think we're still playing with their toys." Jae-hyun nodded, her fingers already moving across the keyboard. As her father left, She glanced at Earth through the window. The Vulcans thought humans were simple creatures who would be grateful for any advanced technology they were given. They thought humans would take years, maybe decades, to understand even the basic weapons they had shared. They were wrong. In labs across Earth, scientists like HFY Kim were already taking apart Vulcan technology, learning its secrets, and making it their own. The aliens thought they were watching children learn to use sticks. They didn't realize they were watching engineers reverse engineer their most powerful weapons. In her secure lab below the main control room, Jai-yun had already connected their quantum computers to a piece of Vulcan technology. The aliens hadn't even realized humans had quantum computing. They thought Earth's computers were simple binary machines. That mistake would cost them everything. The diplomatic vessel docked with its usual smooth precision. Do-hyun straightened his uniform and prepared to greet their allies with a smile. Let them think their plan was working. Let them think humans were grateful, simple-minded creatures. In 3 months, they would learn the truth. Humans weren't simple. We weren't grateful. And we certainly weren't defenseless. We had spent our entire history taking other people's weapons and making them deadlier. We had turned sticks into spears, gunpowder into cannons, and atoms into bombs. Now, we would take their weapons and show them what human innovation could really do. In his pocket, Do-hyun's tablet vibrated with a message from Colonel Yoo-jin Lee. Defense Council meeting in 1 hour. Bring everything. The game was about to change. The Vulcans thought they were the players and humans were the pieces. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Dr. HFY Kim's underground laboratory in Seoul hummed with energy. Bright lights reflected off the smooth surface of a Vulcan weapon that lay dissected on his workbench. Pieces of alien technology surrounded him, each part carefully labeled and scanned. He hadn't slept in 24 hours, but his eyes were sharp with excitement. "Look at this," he said as Dr. Jai-yun Park entered the lab. He pointed to a holographic display showing the weapon's inner workings. Their weapons don't just use energy the way we thought. They use quantum tunneling. It's almost exactly like your research. Jai-yun moved closer to the display, her tired eyes lighting up. She had come straight from the space station after her father's meeting with the Vulcan diplomats. "Can you make it work with our systems?" HFY smiled. Unlike many scientists who worked with alien technology, he didn't wear a fancy lab coat. He preferred his old blue sweater and comfortable pants. "I already have." But that's not the exciting part. He pressed a button, and a hologram changed. "We can make it better." In another part of the facility, Colonel Yoo-jin Lee watched Earth's soldiers train with the simple weapons the Vulcans had given them. Every shot they fired, every target they hit, was recorded and analyzed. The aliens thought they were watching humans learn to use new toys. They didn't know that each training session was actually a complex data-gathering operation. Team 3 switched to pattern Delta. Yoo-jin commanded through her headset. On the training field, soldiers moved in perfect formation, their movements designed to look clumsy to any watching Vulcan observers. In reality, they were testing the weapons' response times, finding their weak points, and discovering their true capabilities. Lieutenant Miro Choi led Team 3. She was young for her rank, but she had a natural talent for understanding alien technology. Right now, she was testing something the Vulcans had claimed was impossible, using their neural interface to control multiple weapons at once. "Ready for Test 17, Mayray reported. She stood in the center of the training area, neural sensors attached to her temples. Around her, 5 Vulcan weapons floated in the air, held up by magnetic fields. The aliens had said humans could only control 1 weapon at a time. Mayray was about to prove them wrong. Back in the lab, HFY and Jai-yun watched the test through secure cameras. "The neural interface works on the same principles as quantum entanglement," HFY explained, pointing to his data. "The Vulcans think our brains are too simple to handle multiple connections. They don't understand that we've been preparing for this kind of technology for years." Jai-yun nodded. Her quantum computing research had started as a way to build better computers. But she had discovered something interesting. Human brains naturally created quantum effects. We just hadn't learned to use them yet. Until now. On the training field, Mayray took a deep breath. "Starting test," she said. Her mind reached out through the neural interface. The Vulcan weapons hummed to life. One by one, they aimed at different targets. The Vulcan observers watched with their usual bored expressions. They had seen humans practice with their weapons many times. It always ended the same way. Humans could barely control one weapon, let alone multiple ones. Mayray smiled. "Firing," she said. All 5 weapons fired at once. 5 targets exploded simultaneously. The Vulcan observers jumped in surprise. That wasn't supposed to be possible. Before they could react, Mayray fired again. And again. Each time, all 5 weapons hit their targets perfectly. She wasn't just controlling multiple weapons. She was using them better than the Vulcans could. In his lab, Hejun laughed with delight. "Look at these readings," he exclaimed. "She's not just using the neural interface. She's improving it. The quantum field is adapting to her brain patterns." Jae-yun studied the data flowing across her screen. The Vulcans built their technology assuming there were limits to what organic brains could do. They never considered that we might be able to evolve past those limits. Colonel Lee watched the Vulcan observers carefully through her surveillance feeds. They were trying to hide their shock, but she could see their confusion. One of them was already sending a message to their ship. "Let them report it," she said into her secure communicator. "Let them think it's just one exceptional human. They still don't understand what we're really doing." In another part of the facility, teams of engineers were already building improved versions of the Vulcan weapons. They took the alien quantum technology and combined it with human innovation. Where the Vulcans saw limits, humans saw possibilities. "How long until the defense systems are ready?" Jae-yun asked, looking at the progress reports from other labs around the world. Hejun checked his data. 2 weeks for the basic upgrades. A month for the full integration with your quantum network. He paused, looking at a new alert on his screen. "The Vulcans are requesting access to our training data. Give them the fake files." Colonel Lee's voice came through their secure channel. "Let them see what they expect to see, humans struggling to understand their technology." In orbit, Commander Do-hyun Park received the latest updates from Earth. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The Vulcans still thought their invasion network was secret. They didn't know that humans had already found ways to disrupt it. "Sir," his communications officer called. "The Vulcans are asking to demonstrate more of their advanced weapons tomorrow." Do-hyun smiled. "Tell them we would be honored. Let them bring their weapons." Each demonstration gave Earth's scientists more data, more opportunities to understand and improve their technology. In her private lab, Jae-yun worked on the quantum network that would turn the tables on the invaders. The Vulcans thought their weapons were safely locked, only able to work at a fraction of their true power. They didn't know that Earth's quantum computers had already cracked their security codes. "Test complete," Mayray reported from the training field. "All systems performing above expected parameters." Hejun added her results to his growing database. Humans weren't just learning to use Vulcan technology. We were transcending it. Where they saw weapons, we saw tools that could be improved. Where they saw limits, we saw challenges to overcome. The Vulcans thought they were watching primitive beings play with advanced technology. Instead, they were watching humanity do what it had always done best: take someone else's weapons and make them deadlier than their creators ever imagined. In 2 months, when they finally launched their attack, they would learn the truth. They had given weapons to a species that had spent its entire history improving the tools of war. They thought they were arming children. Instead, they were arming innovators who had dreamed of the stars for thousands of years. And we would show them exactly what those dreams had prepared us for. The attack came at dawn. Thousands of Vulcan ships dropped their peaceful disguise and revealed their true weapons. Their dark hulls blocked out the sun as they positioned themselves around Earth. In their command centers, the Vulcan leaders smiled. They had done this hundreds of times before. No primitive civilization had ever survived their harvest. But Earth was waiting for them. In the underground command center in Seoul, Colonel Eugene Lee stood before a wall of screens. Each one showed a different part of Earth's defense network. All teams, report status, she ordered. Quantum network active. Dr. Jae-yun Park's voice came through clear and strong. Their systems are trying to lock us out. They don't realize we've been in their network for months. Weapons systems ready, Dr. Hee-jun Kim reported from his lab. All improvements are loaded and running. They're about to find out what human innovation can do. High above Earth, Commander Do-hyun Park watched from the space station as the Vulcan ships moved into attack formation. They're starting their standard harvest pattern, he said into his secure communicator, just like the data showed us they would. The first Vulcan ship fired at Earth's primitive defense satellites. They expected the satellites to explode. Instead, the energy beam bounced back, enhanced by quantum shields that Dr. Kim's team had developed. The Vulcan ship's own weapon hit it with twice the power they had fired. What? The Vulcan commander's confused voice came through their intercepted communications. How did they? Now, Colonel Lee commanded. Lieutenant Mira Choi sat in her modified fighter craft, neural interfaces connected to her temples. Around her, 50 other pilots did the same, but they weren't just controlling their own ships. Thanks to Jae-yun's quantum computing network and Hee-jun's improvements, each pilot could control 5 ships at once. Shadow Squadron, launch, May-Ray ordered. 250 fighter craft rose from hidden bases around Earth. The Vulcans had never seen anything like it. Their sensors showed 50 pilots, but 250 ships moved in perfect formation. Impossible, a Vulcan officer transmitted. Their neural capabilities can't. May-Ray smiled as she led the attack. Her mind connected smoothly with all 5 of her ships through the quantum network. The Vulcans had thought human brains were too simple for this kind of control. They were wrong. We had spent thousands of years preparing our minds for challenges they couldn't imagine. Target their command ships, Colonel Lee ordered. Use Pattern Omega. Pattern Omega was something uniquely human. The Vulcans fought in straight lines with predictable strategies. They didn't understand how humans could fight so chaotically yet so effectively. They didn't know that we had spent centuries developing warfare that looked like chaos but held hidden patterns. May-Ray's squadron split into 5 groups, each attacking from a different angle. The Vulcan ships tried to track them, but humans weren't fighting the way the aliens expected. We didn't follow their rules of space combat. We made our own. In his lab, Hee-jun watched the battle data flow across his screens. Their weapons are trying to adapt, he reported, but they can't match our improvement rate. Every shot they fire teaches our quantum network how to fight better. Jae-yun's fingers flew across her keyboard as she directed the quantum network. Their encryption is failing, she announced. We're in their main systems. Starting shutdown sequence. Across the battlefield, Vulcan ships suddenly lost power. Their unhackable computers had been transformed into useless metal by Earth's quantum algorithms. Ships that still had power found their weapons wouldn't fire. The aliens had never considered that humans would not just copy their technology, but improve it beyond their understanding. Second wave, begin, Colonel Lee commanded. A new group of Earth ships appeared, led by pilots who had trained in secret for months. These ships carried weapons that looked like Vulcan designs, but had been transformed by human innovation. Where the aliens saw limits, we had seen opportunities. Where they saw finished products, we had seen starting points. Commander Park watched from the space station as Earth's forces pushed the Vulcan fleet back. They're trying to regroup near Mars, he reported. Their backup systems are failing. In the chaos of battle, May-Ray demonstrated why humans were different from any species the Vulcans had encountered. When one of her ships was damaged, she didn't abandon it like Vulcan pilots would. She adapted, using the damaged ship as a shield while her other ships continued fighting. Humans didn't just use tools. We found new ways to use them even when they were broken. Their main fleet is retreating, Hajum announced, watching the tactical display. But their flagship is still fighting. The Vulcan flagship was massive, a city-sized ship that had destroyed countless civilizations. Its commander refused to believe that primitive humans had defeated their superior technology. They prepared their final weapon, a planet-killer beam that could crack Earth's crust. "They're powering up their main gun," Jae-yun warned. But she smiled as her quantum computers finished their work. "They don't realize we've already changed its programming." When the Vulcan flagship fired its planet-killer weapon, something unexpected happened. The beam started to form, then collapsed back into the ship. The quantum programming that controlled it had been rewritten by Earth's computers. The Vulcans had given humans access to their simple weapons, never thinking we would understand their most powerful ones. The flagship's own energy tore it apart from the inside. The Vulcan commander had just enough time to realize their mistake. They had thought humans were primitive because we hadn't invented certain technologies. They didn't understand that we had spent our history taking other people's inventions and making them better. "All ships, finish this," Colonel Lee ordered. Earth's fleet moved as one, hundreds of ships controlled by minds. The Vulcans had thought too simple for such complexity. Mirai led the final attack, her 5 ships moving in patterns that alien tactical computers couldn't predict. Humans didn't fight like machines. We fought like humans, and that made us more dangerous than the Vulcans could have imagined. The battle ended not with Earth's destruction, but with the Vulcan fleet's retreat. They fled not just from our weapons, but from the realization of their mistake. They had given tools of war to a species that had spent its entire existence learning to make better weapons. In Seoul's command center, Colonel Lee watched the enemy ships vanish into deep space. "Send the message," she ordered. Jae-yun activated the quantum transmitter they had built using improved Vulcan technology. Across every frequency the aliens could receive, Earth broadcast its warning. "We are humanity. We take what we are given and make it better. Remember this before you think of returning." The Vulcans had thought they were giving weapons to primitive beings who would never understand them. Instead, they had armed a species that had dreamed of the stars for thousands of years. They thought they were watching humans learn to use their technology. Instead, they had watched us surpass it. 3 months after the Great Battle, Commander Do-hyun Park stood at the same window where he had first watched the Vulcan ships arrive. The view was very different now. Earth's first real space fleet floated in orbit, their hulls shining in the sunlight. These ships combined the best of human design with improved Vulcan technology. "The last defense satellite is in position," Dr. Jae-yun Park said, joining her father at the window. Dark circles under her eyes showed how hard she had been working, but her face glowed with pride. "Our quantum network now covers the entire solar system. No one can enter our space without us knowing." Do-hyun smiled at his daughter. The space station had changed too. Where there had once been simple Earth computers, now there were quantum systems that Jae-yun's team had developed. They were far more powerful than anything the Vulcans had given them. "How are the new pilots doing?" he asked. "Lieutenant Myra Choi is an amazing teacher," Jae-yun replied. "She's training them to control multiple ships at once. The neural interface works even better now that we've improved it. Some pilots can handle up to 7 ships." In the Seoul Training Center, Mirai watched her students practice. Young pilots sat in rows, neural sensors on their temples glowing softly. Above them, training ships moved through complex patterns. Each pilot controlled multiple ships, something the Vulcans had thought impossible. "Focus on the quantum connection," Mirai instructed. "Don't think of them as separate ships. Feel them as parts of yourself." She smiled as she watched her students improve. Some of them had come from regular air forces, others from video game competitions. Humans, she had learned, develop useful skills in surprising ways. Dr. Hejum Kim's laboratory had grown into a full research center. Scientists from around the world worked there, studying and improving alien technology. Today, he stood before a group of international leaders, explaining their latest breakthrough. "We've learned more than just how to use their weapons," Hejum said, pointing to his displays. "We've learned how they think. The Vulcans build everything in straight lines, with rigid rules. But humans," he grinned, "we think differently. We see patterns they miss. We find connections they never imagine." Colonel Eugene Lee, now General Lee, walked through the new Galactic Defense Academy. The building combined Earth architecture with alien materials, creating something unique. Young officers from every nation trained here, learning to defend not just Earth, but human space. "The Vulcans taught us something important," she told a class of new recruits. "They showed us that space isn't empty. There are other civilizations out there. Some are friends, some are enemies. We must be ready for both." In orbit, construction teams worked on Earth's first real starships. These weren't copies of Vulcan designs. They were something new. Human engineers had taken alien technology and reimagined it, adding their own ideas. The ships had curves where Vulcan ships had angles, flexibility where the aliens preferred rigid structure. "The quantum drive is ready for testing," Jia reported, checking her data. The new engine was her team's proudest achievement. It used principles the Vulcans hadn't even thought possible. "We can travel faster than their best ships." Do-hyun watched Earth turn slowly below them. "Have we detected any more alien signals?" he asked. "Many," Jia said. "The galaxy is full of civilizations. The Vulcans weren't the strongest, just the most aggressive. Now that we can listen properly, we're learning so much about our neighbors." In her private laboratory, Mi-Ray worked with Hejum on a new project. They were developing ways for pilots to connect with their ships even more deeply. "The neural interface showed us something amazing," she explained. "Human brains are more adaptable than anyone thought. We don't just use technology, we grow with it." The quantum network had expanded beyond just military uses. Scientists used it to share discoveries instantly across the planet. Doctors used it to perform surgery from anywhere in the world. Students used it to learn from teachers on the other side of Earth. The Vulcans had wanted to destroy human civilization. Instead, they had helped it advance faster than ever. "We're receiving a transmission," a communications officer reported one day. "It's from another civilization. They're asking for help. The Vulcans are attacking them." General Lee called an emergency meeting. Earth's leaders gathered quickly, appearing as holograms in the conference room. The decision was unanimous. Humans had not just learned to defend themselves. We had grown strong enough to help others. "Prepare the fleet," General Lee ordered. "It's time to show the galaxy what humanity stands for." Earth's ships moved out in perfect formation. Mi-Ray led the first squadron, her mind connected smoothly to multiple ships through the improved neural interface. Hejum's weapons gleamed with power that even their creators hadn't imagined possible. Jia-Yun's quantum network kept them all connected, sharing information faster than light. The Vulcans had started something they never expected. They thought they were simply finding another world to harvest. Instead, they had awakened a species that had spent its entire history dreaming of the stars. We had written stories about space travel for hundreds of years. We had imagined meeting aliens, fighting space battles, and exploring the galaxy long before we could actually do it. When we finally got the chance, we were ready. Commander Park watched the fleet depart. He remembered how afraid he had been when the Vulcans first arrived. Now, Earth's ships were going to help another civilization fight those same enemies. Humans weren't just survivors anymore. We had become protectors. "The Vulcans taught us their technology," Jia said, standing beside her father. "But we taught ourselves something more important. We learned that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our ships. It's our ability to imagine something better," Do-hyun finished. "To take what we're given and make it into something new." In deep space, Earth's fleet moved faster than any Vulcan ship could follow. They carried with them humanity's message to the galaxy. We are not simple creatures to be harvested. We are not pawns to be played with. We are humanity. We learn, we adapt, we improve, and we help others do the same. The Vulcans had thought they were watching humans learn to use their technology. Instead, they had watched us become something they never imagined we could be. A force for change in the galaxy, a civilization that would help reshape the stars themselves. And this was just the beginning.